Salutations, one and all. This is my review of RWBY Volume 7, Episode 12, and this episode, it was so close. It was so close to being a perfect episode, to being an amazing episode, to being one of my favorite episodes of all time, and it just missed the mark. Because of literally everything that happened with Crow this episode. I mean, literally, all of it. I finished the episode, I'm like, what the freak just happened? And I went back, rewatched, I'm like, wait a minute, okay, so it's not just Crow. Literally, everyone in this part of the episode made the absolute worst decision imaginable, every time. And the whole thing just makes zero sense, and anyone who knows me knows I am not a negative person. I don't like to hate on anything, but this I hated. This I really freaking hated for a whole lot of reasons. Alright, so let's just get into this now so I get to the part of the episode I actually liked. Alright, first things first, there was the arrest warrants issued out and sent to apparently everyone in Atlas and Mantle, saying if you see these people, arrest them. Why? What is the point of any of this? Okay, this scene takes place all of maybe 20 seconds after Ironwood leaves the room, after Ironwood leaves RWBY to fight the Aesops, and yet he issues out detain on site notifications for all of Team RWBY. So that means Ironwood is not only convinced that Team RWBY has a chance at beating the greatest, strongest, best warriors in all of Atlas and Mantle, but also that then some random soldier or stranger on the street is going to see them and find a way to stop them when the Aesops couldn't. No sense whatsoever. Next there's Crow, who Ironwood is well aware is currently in a transport with both Clover and Tyrion. Meaning, if he'd stopped to think for a second, he's like, wait a minute. If I issue this arrest warrant for Crow, then he's going to fight with Clover in a helicopter that's currently transporting a dangerous criminal. That might not be the best thing to do here. And then there's Oscar, the reincarnation of his former mentor, essentially master, the person he respects above all else. Yeah, arrest warrant for him. So that just leaves, John, Nora, and Ren, who, I mean, really, what's even the point of issuing an arrest warrant out for them? Because what are they going to do? Not like they can really, stop you at this point. They have no idea where the Winter Maiden is or how to get to her or where you are. So, yeah, whole arrest warrant thing, no sense whatsoever. And if Ironwood had done that, Clover would still be alive. And we've seen him, give direct messages to Clover in the past. He could just, do one of those. Say, hey, listen, things got kind of crazy. When you land in Atlas, safe and sound, and Tyrion is in custody, please try to arrest Crow. And I'm not going to say this out loud to him, because then, you might crash, and that could end very badly. And then it just keeps getting worse. Oh, also, for some reason, Robin isn't under arrest. I feel like, she's the revolutionary leader. If you're going to do something crazy, initiate martial law, that you should probably, put out an arrest warrant for her as well. That just, makes more sense to me. But yeah, no, Ironwood didn't think she was a threat at all, but thought that Oscar had to be detained immediately. Because of course he did. I mean, he should have known Robin was in the plane with Crow and Clover and Tyrion and would have heard all of that. But nope, apparently Ironwood didn't think things through at all with any of that. So that's one dumb decision on his part. And then Robin decided to start a fight while transporting a prisoner, because of course that won't go badly. And, Crow's even trying to stop these, like, cut out both of you. We're almost back to Atlas. We can deal with things then. We can figure things out. There's no reason to fight on this freaking plane while we're transporting a dangerous criminal. And then Robin very quickly gets her butt beaten by Clover. But this was apparently enough time for Tyrion to break loose, kill the captain, and steal his hat, which I do love that he stole his hats. I mean, seriously, that was just such a nice touch for this psycho. I mean, I know I said almost everything in this arc was horrible, but Tyrion was amazing. I mean, stealing the hats and then dislocating his own freaking thumb and popping it back in so that he could get out of his restraints was the most grotesque thing I've ever seen in RWBY, and I absolutely freaking loved it. And then the little push he gave Crow to get back into the fight was pretty funny. I like that too. So Tyrion was actually the only good part of any of this awfulness. Alright, next up, the crash. They're very far outside of Mantle. Why? I mean, they captured Tyrion inside of Mantle, and they were transporting him just directly upwards to Atlas, and yet they crashed many miles away from Mantle. Why? What route were you taking? That makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. I am actually really curious about this line that between Crow and Clover. Clover says, "You don't know my friends. That's always how it goes. We always fight." I'm really curious about that. I mean, when he and Ty interacted, there was definitely some kind of drama, some kind of friction between the two of them. I'm just really curious about, how he interacted with the rest of his team. What was his relationship with Ty? What was his relationship with Summer? Did they bicker back and forth? I'm just really curious about that now. Anyway, then Crow and Clover realized Tyrion got out. And Crow goes after Tyrion. He realizes, Tyrion, you are the bigger threat. Despite whatever issue Clover and I are having right now, whatever issue said with Ironwood, you are the bigger threat, and I need to take you out right here, right now, obviously. And Clover stops him. Clover goes out of his way to pull him out of his fight with Tyrion so that he can fight him. Why? I guess it's supposed to be, Clover's so blinded by his orders that he's immediately going after Crow instead of fighting the bigger threat. But no, that is still ridiculous and utterly stupid. And even after this, even after Crow is attacked by Clover, he still tries to go back to Tyrion. He still recognizes Tyrion as the bigger threat, the one they need to take down. And once more, Clover stops him. Clover stops him from taking down the most dangerous criminal in all of Atlas, just so he can follow his orders to Ironwood. So why? So yeah, and then Crow teams up with Tyrion, which is an utterly stupid thing to do, but Clover really didn't give him much of a chance, so okay. Still just utterly ridiculous and stupid, and I feel like they could have just talked out at this point and say, "Hey, Clover, let's kill Tyrion first, and then you can fight me." I will say, though, the coordination between Tyrion and Crow is oddly perfect. The way they fight really complements each other, and it really shouldn't, and it's really confusing. I don't get that at all, but okay. Then Crow issues a Megasonic Punch that completely shatters Crow's aura. Not hit with his weapon, not hit with a rocket launcher. He just punches him really freaking hard, and that's enough to break his aura. And then he gets impaled. Because of course he does. But of course, neither Clover nor Crow would have noticed Tyrion getting out of the fishing line he was wrapped up in, running over to Crow's weapon, grabbing it, running behind Clover, and impaling him. Only good thing is this shot looks absolutely amazing. I really like it. And Crow is rightfully annoyed by this, and Tyrion's response is pretty good. "You mean like you just killed Clover?" Yeah, well, you kinda did. You teaming up with Tyrion got Clover killed. Though you could also argue that Clover got himself killed by continually and repeatedly attempting to attack you while Tyrion was walking around. Just saying. Everyone's kind of at fault here. Then Crow let Tyrion get away so he could say his final goodbyes to Clover. And he somehow, in his mind, manages to twist it so the person responsible for all of this is Ironwood. Yeah, I said Ironwood was an idiot for issuing that arrest warrant when he did, but I mean, everyone is basically at fault here. Tyrion, you, Clover, Robin, you all really screwed up here, and blaming Ironwood for it makes very little sense, if any at all. And what's more, Clover wishes him good luck at getting revenge against the man that Clover dedicated his life to helping and defending, because of course he did. And then Crow cried and screamed a lot. And there's a moment a bunch of shippers died. Alright, so keeping on the negativity train, a lot of people in the community are complaining that Team RWBY, a bunch of first-year dropouts, managed to beat the Aesops, the strongest, most elite soldiers in all of Atlas, and probably the world. And I say that's a fair argument, but if you really watch the battle and how it unfolded, it makes a lot of sense why Team RWBY was able to beat them. I mean, first and foremost, their fearless leader was otherwise preoccupied. And he's really the one that, keeps his team together, organizes them, strategizes with them, and, just his good luck semblance really gives them a boost. So, if he had been there, no way in heck could RWBY have even put a scratch in the Aesops. They would have lost in all of 2 seconds. I mean, even if Team RWBY had Crow with them, while the Aesops had Clover with them, Team RWBY would have definitely lost. And RWBY also makes a really good point here, They've been training against the Aesops since they got to Atlas. They've been watching them, studying them, learning from them, trying to find their own weaknesses so they could, beat them, become the best. So that definitely does help, but let's break this down to individual fights. First off, RWBY. Now, I don't really get the point of initiating this iron door lockdown when RWBY was able just to, bust right through it, but still looked cool. And this was the smartest thing RWBY could have done by a long shot. Because Harriet is incredibly dangerous, incredibly strong, incredibly fast. And if they kept fighting in that small space, Harriet could have definitely handcuffed the rest of Team RWBY with very little effort. But by leading Harriet away, RWBY managed to keep the focus solely on her instead of on her team. And I think the funniest part of all this is that Harriet had no reason whatsoever to chase after RWBY. I mean, Harriet should definitely know RWBY well enough to know, okay, this girl is definitely not going to abandon her friends. So I'm just going to stay here, double team Weiss with Marrow, and then once she's taken out, he and I can go after RWBY. I mean, if she had just done that, I can say with fairly decent certainty that the ASOPs would have won this fight. I mean, that being said, though, the difference in their strength is very obvious. RWBY, yeah, you don't hold a candle to Harriet, and she will always beat you in just a straight-up fist fight. That's very obvious here from how she's literally running circles around RWBY. Though this maneuver right here, RWBY does absolutely freaking amazing, as she uses her semblance to literally get herself out of Harriet's grip and get handcuffs on her and hit her in the back of the head all in one swift motion. And it's absolutely amazing. I really like seeing, how RWBY's improved using her semblance. But this does not stop Harriet! Even in handcuffs, she continues to kick RWBY's butt. RWBY almost lost a fight to a girl in handcuffs. That's just showing the difference in their strength. Harriet is stronger than RWBY, and she would have beat her if Weiss hadn't stepped in. Which I just thought was an absolutely amazing way to end this fight. Her running head first into a freaking wall of ice. Once more, she was so focused on RWBY, she didn't even notice Weiss entering the room. Anyway, now speaking of Weiss, yeah, there's no way in heck that she was going to lose to Marrow. I mean, first and foremost, Marrow, he did not want to fight. He was, against it the whole time. He was holding back, saying, we're just trying to arrest her, we're not trying to kill her. And even if that wasn't the case, I think Weiss still had a good chance of beating him here. I mean, Marrow is, the weakest and newest member of the ASOPs. He has far less experience than the other members, and Weiss, she's practically a different species. I mean, with her glyphs and her summoning, she's freaking OP, and what's more, she's been training against Winter this entire volume. And she's fought her to a draw. I mean, I don't think Winter was going all out, but still, that means Weiss is nearly at Winter's level. And I really don't think Marrow is anywhere near Winter's level. Seriously, imagine Winter fighting Marrow. I can't see a world where he wins that fight. Weiss also does some really great strategy here, using ice and then fire to create steam so he doesn't notice her calling out her summoning. That was just some really great strategizing right there, Weiss, and I really liked it. And, once the summoning was out, Weiss was basically just playing with him. And, Marrow might still have had a shot, except for the fact that the stop power can work on Weiss or her summoning, not both of them. Yeah, apparently the summoning is an independent entity, so therefore, Marrow's basically screwed. Alright, next up, Yang and Blake versus Elm and Vine, and this is actually a much more interesting fight because, well, it becomes very obvious that Elm is stronger than Yang and stronger than Blake. Though she's also really, really angry, which might have, clouded her judgment a bit in this fight, which I think is really interesting given, Yang's whole problem is that when she used to use her semblance, she used it out of anger and caused her to make really stupid decisions. Which I think really interesting given Yang's whole thing is she used to, lose herself to her rage, especially when she used her semblance. And so her beating someone because they were just too angry is pretty freaking ironic. I really like that. Also really like what Blake did here. I mean, she was basically Spider-Man swinging around like this. It's a really cool use for a weapon. I don't think we've really seen that before, and it really looks cool. There's also just some absolutely amazing teamwork between Blake and Yang here. Loved it when Vine grabbed onto Blake, and it turned out it was just a copy that was full of explosives. I think it's the first time we ever actually saw any real emotion from Vine there. It was really hilarious. Really well done. I really liked that as a way of taking him out. And I think it was at this point where the ASOPs realized, they were in trouble because, at the start of the fight, Harriet laughed at the thought of them losing to Team RWBY. Because now that it's no longer 4 against 4, it's 4 against 3, that really changes things quite a bit. I really like what Yang did here. She intentionally blew up the floor so that Elm couldn't use her semblance anymore. And yes, well, you can definitely say Elm is strong even without her semblance. She does seem to rely on it a bit too much, and without it, she is definitely a whole lot weaker. Oh, and then she attempted to hit Yang in the face with a rocket launcher. Like, that is a rocket launcher to Yang's face. That would definitely have 100% killed her. And if Yang had gone in like she used to be, with the angry and without thinking ahead of things and just going right for it, she would have died here, definitely. But because, she's grown, because she learned how to use her semblance responsibly, she knew to attack the floor instead, sending Elm flying in the air so that she and Blake could double team her and knock her out. So yeah, like I said, if Clover had been there, or if Harriet hadn't gone after Ruby, or if any of a dozen different things gone differently, Team RWBY would definitely 100% have lost because things went right for them, because they strategized and they acted properly in the situation. They managed to win, and I think it's a well-earned victory. I think it makes a lot of sense given what we've seen so far. Also, something very interesting online that just saw it on the RWBY Reddit page that basically said the Aesops lost because they didn't learn the lessons of their fable. Like Clover, he's the fisherman. His whole fable is about patience, and if he had been patient, waited till they got to Atlas to arrest Crow, then he wouldn't have been murdered. Harriet is, the hare and the tortoise. I mean, she hadn't been so arrogant and confident, gone after RWBY by herself, then she would have won the fight, and Aesops would have won the battle. Mares is about judgment calls, and if he had been less, wishy-washy and more determined in his decision to go after Team RWBY, then he might have had a chance of beating Weiss. Again, I think Weiss is a little bit above him, but he would have stood a better chance against her. Finally, Elm and Vine, they're the importance of teamwork and coordination, and Yang and Blake beat them because they were better coordinated. Elm and Vine didn't really work together whatsoever in that fight. And I absolutely love this shot of Team RWBY being caught dragging the Aesop's body. Oh my god, that's a total hand in the cookie jar moment right there. Just absolutely hilarious. And Weiss even drops Marrow. That was so freaking funny. And, oh god, Pietro. Oh! Well, this is very, very bad. And Maria. This is the part where they ask us to help. Yeah, basically. I'm definitely happy, they're going to play more of a role in whatever happens next. Because, after the first episode, they were kind of forgotten for a while. Anyway, then over to Juniper, and Nora runs over to Oscar, and he's got this creepy smile on his face, and you're like, oh, that is definitely not Oscar. But the real one comes in, and finally managed to land a real blow on Neo. And unless I'm mistaken, I think it's the first time anyone's actually managed to land a blow on her. A lot of people are calling shenanigans on this, but I can justify this by either saying that this is somehow Oscar's semblance kicking in to let him do it, or that when Neo's transformed, she can't use her mirror shields or her weapon or anything like that. Which would actually make a lot of sense for her. Oscar's line here is also kind of weird. The crazy girl showed up and attacked me, but she looked like someone else. Who? Who exactly did he look like to attack you? I mean, I assume she'd go after Oscar looking, like RWBY, to make him lower his guard so she could attack him, but wouldn't he just say she looked like RWBY? I mean, it's not like, Neo is all that well known in Atlas as this dangerous shapeshifter working for Salem that would be easily identified. So, why did she transform, and who exactly did she look like? I'm kind of curious about that. Also love that Team Juniper actually knows who Neo is. Yes, Team RWBY did in fact warn Team Juniper about the dangerous shapeshifter that might be coming after her for revenge. So that's good. Alright, finally, there was Penny and Winter, and I really like their interactions right here. Penny is really against the General's plan of what he's doing here, what he's planning to do, but she still follows the orders. She still does what he says because she knows that it must be done, that protecting the Winter Maiden and Winter are the most important thing to do right now. And I really love what Winter says here. But yes, Penny, we must still acknowledge our personal feelings, wrestle with them, ensures us that we're on the right path. It's what makes us human. And I just really love this because it's something we didn't really see with the Aesops. They were, all too happy to follow the General's orders to, say, hey, let's go leave everyone in Mantle to die and go raise up Atlas. Where Winter, she's not the same as them. She recognizes, she would say this is a terrible decision. She would say it's bad, it's awful. She would acknowledge that. Well, the Aesops are just more mindless robots. And this is just a really great discussion about what it means to, do what's right, to be human. And I just really love that between the two of them. I have no idea how Winter and Penny were like the best interactions of this volume. I was really expecting we get more, RWBY and Penny or Winter and Crow. I mean, seriously, after that huge fight they had in Volume 3, Crow and Winter have interacted like once this entire volume. It's very strange. It's just a great moment between the two of them. I really like it. I do very much disagree with what Winter says here, though, where she says he's saving Remnant. No, not really, because if Salem gets to Atlas with her, army of flying monkeys, and Atlas is too far for her to destroy it, she'll just go to the next city, and the next city, and the next city. You are literally leaving all of Remnant to die at the hands of this crazy witch. So, very, very bad. Speaking of very, very bad, Winter is absolutely terrified. I mean, look at this, seriously, look at this shot of terror on her face. when she's almost hit with Cinder's fireball. I had hoped, thought, okay, Winter, she has her summoning, she has her glyphs, she's a really strong, trained warrior. She probably has a good chance of beating Cinder here. No, I no longer think that. I think there is a very good chance that she is going to get her butt beat here and now, even with, Penny giving her backup. I do love the interaction, though, between Penny and Cinder. You were responsible for Beacon, for what happened to me. It was, unfortunately, temporary. Like, freaking Christ, Cinder, that is just such an ass thing to say. Wow. So, Penny's now all combat ready and prepared to fight Cinder. I just kind of wonder, where exactly is she going to fight Cinder? Because, they're right next to the Winter Maiden, who is a frail, fragile old woman. And Cinder certainly doesn't want her dead right now, because then she has no idea who the power is going to go to. So are they going to go somewhere else to fight Cinder? I mean, is there like some training room nearby where they can move over to? Because otherwise, I just feel like it's going to be them, fighting at minimum strength so that they don't accidentally kill the Winter Maiden. I mean, maybe Winter would want to kill her, because she's the most likely person to get the powers next, but Cinder definitely doesn't want her dead until she can suck the powers out herself. So, all around, very, very bad. Though, thankfully, they won't be fighting alone, because RWBY and Weiss said they were going to go to the Winter Maiden, which means RWBY's going to back up Penny, Weiss is going to back up Winter, and hopefully none of those four are going to die, even though I think it's very likely Winter and Penny are going to die. Also think there's a good chance Pietro might end up sacrificing himself to bring Penny back one last time. And Blake and Yang are going to go fight Neo with Juniper and Oscar, which I'm very excited about. I mean, everyone's, saying, oh, Yang needs to have a rematch against Neo. She needs to fight Neo. She needs to date Neo. That's a whole large fraction of the community who are saying that, but okay. Whew. All right, so this episode, if it wasn't for the whole Crow and Clover thing, I'd say this was one of the best episodes ever. I thought it was absolutely amazing besides that. Just everything went wrong with the Chloe and Clover thing. Just everything. Everyone made the absolute worst decision they could possibly make. All right, whatever. Next episode is apparently the finale. I can't believe it. I feel like we need, have at least another episode before that. Maybe it'll be like an hour long or 40 minutes or something, because I feel like there's still a lot that needs to be done. There is an army of flying monkeys on its way that we haven't even seen yet. It's not even here yet. So that's a whole thing we have to deal with. Then there's, Penny and Winter versus Cinder, and then Penny, Weiss, RWBY, and Winter versus Cinder. At least one of them's going to get the Winter Maiden powers. At least one of them's going to die, more than likely. We have Juniper, Oscar, Blake, and Yang versus Neo, which, that's going to be an interesting fight. No idea what's going to happen with that one. I also have a feeling that Cinder's going to reveal that she's actually immortal. I have a whole theory based on that. And then we have Ironwood, I guess, fighting Crow, because Crow blames him for Clover's death for some reason. I definitely see, Crow murdering Ironwood at this point. Like I said, then Salem's still on her way. Whatever Pietro and Maria are going to do. And somebody, needs to take the Staff of Creation, because at some point it needs to be stolen so that it can be reunited with the other four relics to bring some back the gods. Because we all know that needs to happen by the final episode of the final volume. What else? Whole lot more. I guess the Aesops need to learn that their leader's dead. Very curious how they're going to react to all that. No idea where Tyrion's at. He just kind of escaped. Watts might be dead, might be in jail. No idea about that. Whatever the heck Robin's going to do. I mean, she was seriously hurt, and she needs to, be, she needs to be treated and all that. She can end up, enlisting the Aesops to join her team, become the new Happy Huntresses. No idea about any of that. I mean, there is literally just so much possibilities. I literally have no idea. I mean, I actually don't even think that anything can really surprise me next episode, because, it literally needs to fit in like a dozen different battles and interactions and everything else between all the characters. So yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting episode. I'm very excited for it. Some few theories of her in line. One is that RWBY is going to be kidnapped, and they're going to need to ask Jin to find Salem's headquarters. Another one is that Oscar's going to be kidnapped, the same thing. Mercury and Emerald might show up with Salem and her flying monkeys. I mean, Atlas is definitely going to follow this guy because, somebody has to take the relic so they can, summon the gods with it at the end of the series. Just so much left to do. I literally have no idea how they're going to fit it all into an episode. I seriously feel like it's going to have to be like over an hour long just to fit everything in. But let me know all down below. What do you think's going to happen next? That it can literally be anything at this point, and it literally has to be everything just to fit all the storylines in. guess it's gonna have to end with, Team RWBY leaving Atlas. I mean, I guess I've been assuming, this is gonna be the end of the Atlas arc. Like, at the end of this chapter, at the start of the next chapter, they're gonna be leaving Atlas. They're gonna be heading towards Vacuo or back to Beacon or something, but I mean, it could be they spend another, volume, or at least half of next volume in Atlas, still doing stuff there, still hanging out, like correcting everything that was done, bringing peace, bringing back a new government, all that, but I just really don't know at this point. I just really don't know. Let me just think all down below. Wish you like this video, and until then,
peace.